So welcome everyone to this edition, the Friday, December 4th edition of the Marketing and Tech Training. Today we're going to go into a little more detail on the search functions of Real Scout. Now, as I just said before I hit record, so we're going to say it again, we're going to make these classes a little bit shorter and a little bit more focused on specific items that we think will be very, very helpful to know. And then that way, instead of having to, kind of parse through a 45 or a 55-minute class, try to find the 2 or 3 jewels that you're looking for, that you can just kind of concentrate on the things that actually matter. And so today we're going to go into Real Scout. So by show of hands in the chat, or just a comment in the chat, how many of you guys have got logged into Real Scout and have set up either yourself or somebody else as a client? Michael's got there. Anyone else has got there? I know Savannah does. Yeah, Ted, I know you've got that going. Yes, look at Ted's background. Yes. See, Ted and I just need a little Christmas right this very minute. If you haven't gotten your Real Scout login, send me an email. I'll send that to you right after this class. It's a super powerful platform. We talked about the first Real Scout introduction, kind of talked about the overview of what it can do. The bottom line with Real Scout is it's a platform that helps bring agents together to control the listing process. They are the only vendor that we know that we work with right now that has absolutely zero connection to any kind of revenue to grabbing your clients. In other words, they're not a platform like the Zillows or the other types of realestate.com or anything like that's out there right there. They have no revenue generation based on trying to generate leads for agents or trying to generate leads that they can sell to somebody else. They're 100% focused on you, the process as you go through and set up a client. That client belongs to you. They do not use your data. They don't use your client's data in any way that could be shared with anyone else. And ultimately, what we're hoping for is that more and more brokerages here in Utah get on board with Real Scout, because ultimately what it starts to do is the more that you plug in your buyer's needs and wants, in other words, the sooner you connect them to Real Scout starts to search between people that have buyer needs and people that have listings. And they make those connections completely anonymously behind the scenes inside the platform. Meaning if you've got something that's coming on the MLS, you can put that out, get that on Real Scout. If you have buyer needs in MLS, they can put that on Real Scout. And the way that that works is that Real Scout will actually send you as an agent an email saying another agent has a buyer that fits the profile of what what they're looking for is your listing. And then you can choose to connect with that agent. You can stay anonymous, or you can then just say, yeah, let's connect. And then you start an email thread. That's all archived inside of Real Scout. So it's really cool thing. But all that starts with you setting up your clients inside of Real Scout. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to go through how to get the client stuff. I'll just do that really, really quickly. And then we're going to go into more of the advanced search features of Real Scout. As always, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw that up in the chat. Travis, I know what the frowny face means, my man. I feel you. We're still working on trying to get the WCBOR MLS on board. Excuse me, not COVID. Let me go ahead and share my screen here so we can take a look at Real Scout. Let's get over here so we can get that up and going. And that way everybody can see it. Excuse me, I feel like Kevin Cameron for a second. Let me get a little Mountain Dew Zero. Clears the pipes. Like a little Mountain Dew Zero. When you first log into Real Scout, you're going to go to your dashboard. Your dashboard looks like this. So anytime that you have a client or you have any alerts that are set up, you're going to see that right here in your live feed. You can see right here from our last demo, I still have Fro Schlowery, which again is the most difficult name I could have picked to say. But anyway, there he is. Your clients are entered here. Now, we've had several conversations with many agents over the last 2 weeks on, is there a good way to import a big chunk of your clients? So if you've already got an SOI, you've gotten a spreadsheet, and you want to just import those clients up, I'm going to show you how to do that real quick here. And then we're going to go right into the search, because once you have your clients installed inside of Real Scout, you can then choose to send them invitation emails. The Real Scout function is, they don't need an app. You don't need to worry about them. You don't need to worry about what operating system they're using. You don't need to worry about what kind of phone they have. It works on a browser. So it means it works on your computer and it works on the browser on your phone. So anytime that you send an invitation to anybody, they click on the link, it opens right up. It opens up to your Real Scout page. You can see here at the top, On my Real Scout dashboard, it actually is branded to me. So it's joelowry.realscout.com. Yours will have yourname.realscout.com. And then, of course, you can have that set up as a URL. You can put that in your email signature, on your Facebook, social media, e-cards, marketing resource, all that kind of fun stuff. So the simple way to add a single client is just hit this Add Client button here at the top. I'm going to go ahead and put in my wife here because she agrees to hang out with me. And I'm going to just put in her email. I can put multiple in here if I choose to. So if you're working with a couple, you can put in a comma and put in both at the same time if you choose to. The phone number is totally optional. They don't need a phone number, but if you want to have that in there, you can. I've talked to the Real Scout CEO fairly extensively. They don't necessarily have any plans to turn Real Scout into a CRM, which is great. A lot of the platforms in the real estate technology industry seem to be going that way. They kind of want to take over everything that has anything to do with your real estate transactions. Real Scout knows what their lane is, and they're just driving deep on the features and the benefits of this particular search platform. And so that's actually really, really neat. And then on the source side, you can put something like family. This is more a reminder for you to like indicate how you know this person or where you met them or whatever. It just as well might be like this. Open house at 1234 Main in Sandy. And that's just totally for you. So the source is just something that you can put in there that is indicative of where you met this exact person and what you do. You hit next, and then it asks you, do you want to set up a listing alert or a market activity alert? We covered this a little bit in our last class on Real Scout. A listing alert is what you typically do for a buyer. So just as you would go inside the MLS and set up the parameters in the MLS, depending on square footage they want, bedrooms, bathrooms, and their price range, you do the exact same thing here inside of the listing alert side. You can do that if you want, or if you just want to put their name in, you can just hit the X button and it goes away. And so if I come over here, back to my dashboard, it automatically saves all this kind of cool stuff. And I go back to my clients here. I have my client list, and you can see there's Nikki right at the top that we can do to go ahead and make that happen. So here we have all the different houses and the list of the reports. So in order to get all the data here, you actually have to build a search. In this case, we're building a search for Nikki. So on the left-hand side of the menu, now that we know how to go ahead and add a single client, let me show you how to import an entire list. Up in the upper right-hand corner here, below the Berkshire Hathaway logo, there's this little link that says Import Client. If you click, excuse me, if you click on the Import Client, it has this client service here. Excuse me. There we go. You can import lead database, prospects, all kinds of stuff, and all about meet the criteria they specify. When you do the import client, it starts a wizard. It puts in your name, your email address. I highly recommend putting in your whatever your work email address happens to be. You can do that. And then it basically says, give us a file, put any comments or instructions, and then you go ahead and send that up to them. It also has this little cool option here at the bottom, which is send the welcome email. If you say you want to send a welcome email, you can say no or yes. So for example, if you're just kind of getting familiar with Real Scout, you're not quite sure how to use it, you don't want to kind of unveil it to your clients yet, you don't have to send them the welcome email. But I can tell you right now, it's so friendly, it's so easy. You can go ahead and just hit yes, and then you can go ahead and type your own message in there, right? So you can, say, hello, everybody. Hello, dear client. Better, or since she's my wife, I could just call her dear, right? So hello, dear client, and then you're gonna type something really compelling about this is Real Scout, and we're using this, and it's the best search that we found, and anything that you do, you can see, I want you to press like, I want you to tell me that you like the kitchen in this one, but you hate the bathroom in that one, and I want a fenced yard, and blah, 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 blah. And you type all that there. And then you just come over and upload your file. Now, how does the file have to look? Well, they provided a little template for you right here. And so you can go ahead and show on the client demo of this little Excel spreadsheet. So let me share that with you real quick. So we can do that. And I will bring up Excel so we can see our format here. So this is what the Excel format is looking for. So you can see here, it's telling you it needs a first name and an email. That's all it needs. So those are in red. Let me make that a little bigger so we can kind of zoom in and take a look at that. So you can understand how simple this process is. But if we come up here to the top, and we're looking at our rows and our columns at the very, very top here, all it's asking for that has to be there is a first name and an email. That's literally all you have to do to import clients. So if you have an SOI that has everything from birthdays to previous homes they lived in to all that kind of stuff, you can go ahead and create a copy of that SOI, and you can strip out all the columns that you don't need. I would say, you know, first name, last name, email is probably better so you don't get confused. And then you can go ahead and do whatever it is that you want to do. So we'll stop that real quick. Let me pull up a Real Scout screen again. And so once you do that, you choose the file. You can add any comments or specific instructions in there. You send the info. A real human being at Real Scout then takes the database. They upload that into your profile. So they don't keep that anywhere else. That's not, again, they don't keep that data. The data is all parsed so that you never have to worry about them doing anything with your SOI. So that's one of the really cool things, again, about Real Scout. So in this case, we got our client. And the last thing I'll say on the client side is if you ever want to get all your clients that you put into Real Scout back down, go ahead and just hit this Export Clients button. It takes everyone that's in your clients, puts it in the CSV file for you, and sends it on the download. Again, the coolest thing about Real Scout is you can do all this on your phone. So if you're out showing houses, you meet somebody, you're in the grocery store, you run into someone you haven't seen in a while, you want to add them to Real Scout, you have a quick conversation. Hey, I'm interested in what's going on in the market right now. Here, it's a really good time for sellers. You can go ahead and add them as a client real quick, send them a market activity report. Now they're in, it's an automatic drip campaign, so it just goes on for you. Super, super, super powerful platform. So now let's get to the meat of the meal, the search page. So on the left-hand side, it's the third option down, just below dashboard and clients. And currently, if you're a member of multiple MLSs, you'll see that right here, it'll tell you what MLS you're in. So we're currently searching residential in the Wasatch Front Regional Multiple Listing Service. So we're going to stay with this because I'm going to use an example that we had a few weeks ago from one of our agents who was specifically looking for new construction for her clients. So in here, it starts asking you things like status, right? Is it an active status? Is it a backup status? You know, the SS and TC, Michael Hurd will tell you all about what SS and TC mean because he's researched those things in their completeness. Certificate of occupancy, expired, off market, sold, under contract, withdrawn unconditional. So all the different statuses from the WFR, excuse me, MLS are in here. And so we have this here. So active SS is short sale. Mike, I'm gonna go ahead and let you type what TC means while I try to clear my throat again. Sometimes that morning protein shake just really makes that happen. Thank you, Michael. Yes, it's time clause. Property type, condo, mobile without land, recreational, single family, townhouse, twin. So these are all the statuses, or sorry, property types that are available from the WFR MLS. And we're going to show you a little bit how to get into some specifics down there. Listing price. We had a great class yesterday with Kevin Cameron and Craig Lelis where they talked about sometimes pricing on a home, in particular in a market like this, is difficult. You might have a beautiful home that's, you know, everyone else is getting multiple offers. You don't seem to be getting any offers, and you're trying to find the sweet spot on the price. You've done your CMA, you've done all those things that you know you need how to do, and yet you're still not quite getting the kinds of things that are out there. Well, that has a lot to do with how people search for homes now. Any buyer client you have has probably started off by, you know, you go through your buyer presentation and you basically find out what their needs and their wants are, and they're going to give you a price. You know, you're asking if they're pre-qualified. If not, you send them one of our great mortgage partners, but they're always going to give you a range, right? So if you've got a person that's pre-qualified, you know, from 500 to 750,000, the next sentence is almost always, but we want to stay in that 650 range, okay? This is where you as a professional want to make sure that you understand, hey, I would rather give you more options that we don't have to look at than less options and have you miss out on a home because it's $5,000 out of your price range or $10,000 out of your price range. So if we go in here, we talk about our minimum list price of $500,000, and we say our maximum, if they maxed out at $750,000, I'd recommend go ahead and put them in at like $775,000. Let's just say we're going to put another $25K on there because overall, with mortgage rates being what they are, everything else is sort of important. You want to make sure you have as many results as possible. So right now on the Wasatch Front, we've got a little over 2,000 results on property types. We're going to go ahead and choose active on this. You can also do multiple statuses, which is kind of neat, right? So just by choosing active and backup, we have 796 results on our Wasatch Front. Again, I'm going to loop around and show you on how the PCBR does this as well. And on the property type, let's go ahead and put in single family. Drops our results down to 679 that are currently in this price range. So then you can go ahead and get more detailed, right? What's their total square footage? Here's the interesting thing about square footage these days. I think total square footage is less important than the actual layout of the home, right? So you might say, I just moved from Texas. I'm just coming in from New Jersey. We had a 3,400 square foot house. We want to stay somewhere in that same range. So if you put them in that 3,400 square house, you say our minimum is going to be 3,400 and our maximum, we're not going to even put in a max. It's going to take us down to 40 results. So what happens if here in Utah, one of the greatest houses for this particular family is at 3,000 square feet? You'll miss it, right? So always make sure that your ranges are going to be something that are worth taking a look at. So you go a little bit lower, you go a little bit higher. You see we more than doubled our results just by taking 400 square feet off of our search there. I've said this many times, and many of you that I've had the pleasure of working one-on-one with know that for me, I say this all the time, computers are really, really smart and they're really, really stupid. Meaning you tell them what to look for and that's exactly what they do. And so sometimes we as humans kind of think, well, give me a range. And so you say, well, we're going to go from 3,400 to 5,000 square feet. That's a great range. But again, that 400 square feet difference might eliminate, in this case, 46 houses that could actually fit those buyer needs. And so always be careful on your ranges. Even if they're saying, look, we want at least 3,000 square feet, we want at least 4,000 square feet, always go down another 500 on the downside, and on the max side, you can go up. Because again, it's the layout of the home that actually makes more sense than the total square footage, right? So who cares if they made the hallways a little wider, in this house in Draper, right? And all those count on the square footage. And so you have the same situation down here on the total square footage. So you can go ahead and put something in like, let's say 3,000. Again, we're not going to put in a max on that. And that's going to help us stay at our 87. Acreage is definitely for the land. If you've got a client that's looking for horse property, looking for a big piece of land they want to build on, that would be important, right? So depending on what it is that you're looking for, and if that is the case, on your property type, make sure that you're going to include, other things that are out here as a possibility. I'm going to show you how to search for just for land in just a second. On the style, this one's a little tricky because not all agents, as you know, when they're loading on the MLS, not all brokerages go ahead and take the time to put all this in there. You can see that there's a lot of options. You could say, I want a condo on the main level. You have end row on townhomes. There's all these other types of things that you can kind of put in there. But again, if somebody thinks this is a Tudor style home and they put in the wrong style of home, then again, you're going to miss out on that search. So unless you really know the clients really, really well, you might want to leave the style alone, but it's there in case you wanted to. HOA fees, you can plug those in if there's an HOA fee. Let's go ahead and say, I don't want to pay more than an extra whatever a year or whatever a month in the HOA fees. And on all these search fields, there's this little more options button. On the more options, you're going to get things like this, which is including 0 and blank. Meaning if they did not load what the HOA fees are in the listing form, but they put it in the public remarks, you can go ahead and say, I want to include anything that doesn't have in there. So you could make sure you're not eliminating any potential options by not filling in that particular field. Bedrooms and bathrooms, this is really kind of important. I mean, somebody knows I need at least 3 bedrooms. On the max side, again, I like to say, leave it open, right? Because nowadays, you might want a client that comes in, they say, look, we need 3 bedrooms or we need 4 bedrooms. But on the max side, if it has 6 bedrooms, they might want to turn one into an office. They might want to turn one into a home gym or anything like that. And on the total bath, the minimum side here, we're going to say we need at least 3 total baths. And then you can see right here, a full bath, minimum of 3. And then you can even say out a half bath. You can put in a minimum, say I want at least 1 half bath in the house. But you'll notice that that will definitely affect your results of what's there. So we went from 87 to 20 just by selecting a minimum bed and a minimum total bath on the full and the half. If we take that one back out on the half, you can see that our results go back up to 41. So it just gives you an option to do that. Again, on the full side, it's going to ask you 0 and blank. So you can kind of just use whichever one of these fields that you want. I've seen a lot of results in terms of when agents don't quite count half baths, quarter baths the same way that you might count a half bath, quarter bath. So on the total bathrooms, you might want to use that as your primary field for this particular search option. So you can see that just by saying, I want total baths here, we have 75 total results. You can go ahead and skip the quarters and that kind of stuff. So this is another cool option here, listed or status change within. So what it's saying is, in a hot market like now, where an MLS listing might come out, Real Scout is querying this database every 15 minutes. So if a listing goes live and you've got a search alert that's set up for your clients to go out every day, they're going to see that the next morning, which is really, really important in a time when you're going to get multiple offers and a lot of people are competing for a home. And so you're kind of saying in this particular field, you're telling Real Scout, include anything that's happened in this time frame. The safest way to go on this one is just say, leave it blank, right? I don't have to worry about when it was statused or when it was listed. I just want to know if it's available, because up here at the top, we said, I just want to know if it's active or if it's in backup status. That's the only two things I really need to worry about at this point in time. But if you're looking for something that's really like, hey, I only want to take a look at the things that happened, in the last week. Let's say you've got a buyer that's been with you for a few months. You haven't quite been able to find the right property. They've seen everything on the market. You might want to narrow that search for them to say, just show me stuff that's come on in the most recent week. You can go ahead and do that. On the location side, so there's multiple ways that you can do this, right? Locations, you can go in here and start typing in a city. So if we say we want Sandy, all right, it's going to say, let's limit our search to the geographic boundaries of Sandy City. Well, that took us from 47 results to 3, just by isolating a particular city. We've got to live in Sandy. Now, of course, you can add cities, say Draper, like this. Excuse me. You can also add areas like Midvale, type that in, and it just kind of increases your chances of doing that. The other option, instead of just listing the cities here, is just to come over to the map. Now, one of the coolest things about the map is, if you want an easy way to draw on the map, hit that little full-size button right there on the bottom. You can see I went from full screen like this. It gives me a little more area to draw on. And we know that they want to stay north of Utah County. So I'm just kind of pulling the map around with my cursor here, and I'm scrolling in closer to kind of see where a gathering of all of these homes happen to be. It looks like the largest collection is out here on the west side. And so you can say we're going to do that. But the other cool thing you can do is just draw. So what I want to do is I want to draw a polygon. So I'm going to start up here in Salt Lake City. I put my button there. You see how I get these white squares that have shown up? We're going to come down here to Draper, and we're going to go up here, and then we'll stop right there. So here's our polygon. And then when you want to close it out, you just go back to your first box. It zooms in, and now here's our results. Once we see that this is the area that we're searching in, I can just go back to minimize. It brings all my search options back from where we were. I haven't lost any of the other things that I've loaded in there. Instead of trying to fill out all this location stuff, I just have drawn this big polygon here on the list. School location and boundaries. I know that some buyers are moving from a house in Utah to another house in Utah, but they want their kids to stay in the same school district they might be in. Or they have family that lives in Utah, so they're coming from out of state, but hey man, I've got to stay in the Davis School District, or hey, I've got to stay in Canyons, or I've got to stay in Summit County. Whatever it happens to be, you can go ahead and put in the school names if you choose to. Again, it's a computer, which means that the more information you tell it, the more it's going to narrow your search results, which might be fantastic, right? Because you're only looking for a very specific kind of house for one particular buyer. But again, I think a lot of people that are not quite sure what they're willing to give, what they're willing to negotiate on, this is one of those things that's fantastic. So you can go ahead and do that. So down here, we have the individual schools. It goes through school district, elementary, junior high, senior high, or other type of schools. Most other on the other side, like this, you've got all these different types of schools that are charter schools, or let's say they've got a technical school, other things that are out there. So you can go ahead and pick all those as well. Basically, if it's on the WFR MLS, then you can go ahead and put that in there. Features. This is where you can really take a search and make it super, super narrow. And so you got to be careful with the power of these features. So if you look in here, it starts to list things like it has an atrium. If you say, I want one with an atrium, watch our search results. We go from 12 to 0. Okay, so they want an atrium, that's one thing, but again, it might not be the best thing to start your client's search by eliminating some things that are absolutely critical. If it's one of those people that say, I gotta have a balcony, go ahead and add the balcony. You see we're already down to 2 options, right? And in this time where listings are at a premium, you might wanna make sure that this features is probably less used as opposed to more used. On the inclusions, this is saying that the agent that put this on the MLS has decided that the basketball standard is included in the home. Well, how many agents do you know after they've walked through and done the listing presentation, if they've asked specifically, is the ceiling fan staying? Is the basketball standard staying? Alarm system, that's probably a pretty safe one. Although nowadays alarm systems don't need to be hardwired into the home anymore. But just understand, the more of these that you choose, the less options you're going to have that show up on the MLS. And so you can see the types of things that are in here. And then on the interior features, again, this goes through and it talks about things that are important. I know when we were looking for a home, we bought this home here that we live in Davis County. We bought that 3 years ago. Absolutely had to have a tub. My wife and my girls love to take baths, and so a tub was critical. So that'd be something that we told our agent, and our agent, of course, could go ahead and put that in here. But again, these are all things that are, options. Again, the more you choose, the less options you will have to look at in the actual search remarks. And so for these, again, I think leaving these alone, it depends on the client. It's all up to you, how you feel, like how narrow you want to narrow their search results down. If you've got one of those clients that say, I know exactly what I want, and here's exactly the houses I want to see, you have the conversation, say, I'm absolutely going to set up that search for you. Are you open to looking at homes that might not have these specific features because that will widen our available pool of homes that we can go look at? They say, nope, it's got to have this, this, and this, and then go through and have that conversation with them so you can kind of find out like where that stopping point absolutely is. Amenities are the same thing. You come down in here, it's things like cable TV, other options like this. A lot of these amenities in terms of being hooked up, like if you've got a townhome, for example, you might want to know that they have an electric washer and dryer, so they got to have electrical hookup. But again, is that going to break the deal, right? So if you have an electrician come out and run, a 240 plug into the laundry room, is that going to cost more? The rest of the home is perfect for them, but that one little option is not there. If you choose things like these amenities, you'll never see the ability in your search results to look at homes or properties that don't have these specific amenities, but again, might be easily remedied through an addendum or something else as part of the buying process. But you can go through here, sauna, steam room, all that. Wouldn't it be great if every home was required to have a sauna and a steam room? HOA amenities, again, this is if it's part of an HOA. Do they have a pool? Do they have a park? Do they have those types of things? Those are all here that you can choose. And then you can go ahead and say on the open houses, show me only homes that are currently have an open house. Show only homes with photos. This is an interesting one. How many listings do you think that are out there where the agent put it on the MLS because they want to sell the home quickly and they haven't got the professional photography done? Or you have maybe 1 or 2 pictures with a cell phone. That's what they include in the listing. So be careful on the homes with photos thing. You might be missing out on something just because, nowadays with everyone being so busy in the real estate industry, you might have a completely viable listing that hits the MLS and the photos just haven't been taken yet. And the only thing that's available in the actual public remarks is a comment from the agent saying photos will be up on Thursday, right? Or something like that. If you choose that homes with photos, you're going to eliminate some potential options. Now, because the MLS is so hot, you see we lost 2 houses just by saying I only want homes with photos, right? To do that, so you can go ahead and hit that, make that happen. And the other thing is subdivision. Now, this one we're going to go into a little bit more detail here in just a second, because this is something that in Park City in particular, and in the Wasatch Front area, we have names for neighborhoods that are not exactly the names that are on the MLS subdivisions. Like Park City, for example, Upper Deer Valley, Lower Deer Valley, right? Those are ones that are very, very simple. Or if you say something like, you know, any one of the major developments that we represent as a brokerage. So you have those things that are in there, and you might want to be careful on the subdivision. When you start typing on the subdivision, you know, and it doesn't show up. So we're like, for example, we want to say Cottonwood Heights, or we want to say St. Regis, or we want to say something like that. You'll see that it's not showing us any options. And so this is where the last button I'm going to show you here on this search page is so critical. So you see down here on the right-hand side, I keep saying, looking for a different search field, add more at the bottom. Now, this is one of those quiet features that I think will completely change your experience in Real Scout. So the reason you came to this class today is for this button right here, okay? So I come down right here and I go to add, remove search options. So I click add, remove search options, and you can see that right now I've got a little pop-up window. I want to make sure you guys can see that pop-up window. Can you see a little pop-up window that says advanced search options? Everyone see that? Great, thank you very much. You can go ahead and search for any field on the MLS. And I'll give you the example we use with one of our agents most recently, right? So we say new construction, right? And we could go ahead and search, well, if I spelled it right, you can go ahead and find things like new construction or new builds, right? Or to be built. And if you're not quite sure what the MLS calls that, they're all listed down below. So it goes from everything from accessibility to agent first and last name, basement bathrooms. You can see all these things that are included in the WFR MLS that are not included in the primary search fields above on Real Scout, right? So you can come down in here, things like there's a deck, east-west coordinates. That's a big deal here in Utah. A lot of times we have street names, but a lot of times it's located just on a particular east-west. And you could go through and look at all these different options right here, right? So latitude, longitude, master bedroom, non-standard access, office ID. So let's say that you only know that it is, you drove by a home that you thought was going to be great, but you know it was sold by KW. You can actually go on the MLS and only search for homes that are on KW. That's another cool little function. You can do that. Down here in subdivision, you can see that that's already checked. So if I uncheck that, it goes away in terms of our options. But if I go ahead and put that on there, I can. But it's got tons of stuff on here: zoning, year remodeled, total den. Like there's lots and lots of different options that are out here. Street number, which is a really cool one. But these are all coming directly from the MLS. But because they're specific, right? You can have a little option that does that. So you can actually search for public remarks. You can search for things that are only on the public remarks there. Maintenance free, latitude, longitude, landscaping, all that kind of stuff like that. Front dimension, all these different options. So you can add these boxes. Like I'll give you an example. Let's go back to landscaping. Because in this world right now with new construction, we want to add that. So once I check that box and I hit done, you can now see that I've got landscaping as an option on my other search, right? So now I can come in here and I could say it's got to be fully landscaped. So when I do that, I hit the full landscape, it goes out. You guys remember how many results we had before we chose landscaping? It was in the 40s, right? So fully landscaped has taken us down to 9 results. So these are the options that you can plug in on the search side to make that happen. And then again, once you've got that in here, you can say, well, let's also get landscaping part. And now we're back up to 11, right? And you can say other things like, I believe the xeriscaping is in here. Yep, things like that. Mature trees, fruit trees, all that type of stuff is in there. And so once you add those to your results here, we've got 11. I can simply say, show me what you found, Real Scout, by clicking this button up here in the view results page. So here's our 11 homes. Now, the cool thing is that when you hover over them, it shows you on the left-hand side of the map exactly where that is. You can click into those listings. It goes ahead and loads them for you. So this is here one in South Jordan. You can come back and just scroll through the photos, take a look at, is this kind of what my clients are looking for? It's very good. The photos actually are separated by bedrooms. So you can go right to the kitchen pictures if you want to and look through all 4 of those kitchen pictures. like this. That's a nice kitchen. You can go into living room, go into the outside photos, and allows you to say, okay, we're going to include or not include that one. And then you see where it says select listing here at the top? I'm just going to pick that. And right now, whoever I save this search for, I'm sending one listing out of those 11. We'll go to our next listing, take a look at it here. You see this is on Denver Street. You know, it's fitting right in the particular details here. We go through. We got a lot of questions down here about listing agent info. The bottom line is it's not really beneficial to you to send somebody a listing search alert where it tells them how to get a hold of the listing agent directly. This information does not get sent in your client listing. And when your clients get saved searches or when they're out looking on Real Scouts for themselves, this information is not provided. The only thing that's provided is your information. So again, Real Scout has taken a lot of precautions to make sure that you are the center of all the activity that happens on Real Scout. So it's really, really slick that way. So we'll go ahead and select that one there. Go to our next listing. Yep, we like that one. And we'll just kind of go through here. Or if you're kind of in a rush, you say, you know what, I trust the process. Here's a good one that doesn't have any photos yet. It's only been on the MLS for 3 days. And in this day and age, that's totally respectable. You can see that they probably got the listing agreement signed, they loaded it up on the MLS, and the photos are being ordered, right? And that by not including photos only, then you get a chance to see this. But if you want to go a little quicker, just come down the little row here. We're going to say, I want to send all 11 of these to Nikki. So I do this. I click them all. If I really want to save some time, I could just click on this all button up here. It'll check them all for me. And then I come over here. I click Save to Client. So what client I'm going to send that to? I send to Nikki. And this one, I'm going to say, homes you asked to see. And then it asks me how often I'm going to alert Nikki, okay? So on this, I have a drop down. I have a daily, I have an ASAP, I mean, let's go right now. I can do a hand-picked one. So this is a great, we'll do this because this is a really kind of an interesting thing to go through. The hand-picked means that I'm picking the schedule myself, right? If I go ahead and I pick like daily, excuse me, I can go through and I could say, send a copy to myself. The natural language intros is Real Scout running some AI on all the different types of homes that are out there. You can either choose to include that or not include that. I highly recommend setting up a search for yourself, okay? Put in a personal email address, put yourself in as a client, put in a personal email address, set up a search, set this thing up for daily, and watch what happens. Watch how they come to you, right? And then you can see by default, we're choosing in the morning. You can change that to PM as well, right? So it goes out in the morning and in the afternoon, or you can say, you know what, they're working all day. I already know that they come home, they take a look at those listings at night. We're only going to send them in the afternoon. You see there's no specific time that they're sent. You know, like any large service provider that uses email as the primary mode of communication, you can't exactly perfect an exact time that they'll go out. Roughly, in talking to the Real Scout engineers, it's about at 10 a.m. If you choose the AM side, and it's right around between 4:30 and 5 on the PM side. Again, it's not exact. You know, they might show up at 5:30, they might show up, 3:30, might show up at 6:30. But this is where in your conversation with your clients, just let them know, hey, I'm going to send you one of these every afternoon. Go ahead and take a look at it, and then when you look through the listings, please let me know what you think. So you go ahead and you set that up and you do that. I click save, and now Nikki is going to get this search results immediately. So right here, you see there's 11 results for Nikki's search. You want to send an alert now with all unsent listing, which is 11. I can actually say, Nikki, here are the homes we talked about. The homes. You'll get one of these each morning. And then I can come in here, my optional, and I can say, remember to open the listings and click what you like. And you can comment anytime, and I'll get those and refine the search. just like that. And then I'll go ahead and hit send now. And you see right here below, it says the first email alert will go out today because we're going to send this right now. And then she'll get her next one tomorrow afternoon because that's how we set that information up. So that's how you use the advanced search features. Get a client in there. So just kind of recap here. Go ahead and add yourself. I highly recommend at the beginning here, add yourself as a client, put in a personal email address, create a search, and then go ahead and set those alerts to come in so you see exactly how those work. So let's go back here to my search field. And I'm going to show you, we're going to change our multiple listing service. And you can see this is Wasatch Front. I'm going to go over here to Park City MLS. And I'm going to just hit start. I don't have to pick a client. I'm just going to hit start searching. So now we're up here in our residential property in Park City MLS. So again, you know how to do all this now, but one of the things that you might want to do on the MLS side is to come down here and add remove search options again. So I scrolled all the way to the bottom of my search field. I went right here to add remove search options. And here's all of the different search options that might be possible for us. So you can see right here, there's subdivision, there's other elements in here, all the different little pieces that are chosen. Construction new, we talked about that. There's a lot of new construction in Park City. So if someone's looking for new construction, that's how you pick that, construction new. Same thing on the WFR, by the way. It's construction new. And I come down here and I can see all these different options. You see, so many of these are not actually filled out on the MLS when these are submitted. And so this is one of those things that you might want to go through and just make sure that it's appropriate. So we got property type, property description, recreational access, reserves, surface type roads. I mean, there's a lot in here that you can actually search for. Street name is a good one to have there. Subdivision we've already added. And so one of the things that happens down here, if I start searching for subdivision, here's my Upper Deer Valley. Now, if I were to search for that up here in city or area, say Upper Deer Valley Resort or Old Town, but that's not an actual subdivision. And so if we wanted to search for White Pines in the area, not there, I come down here to my subdivision and I type in White Pines. Here's my White Pine County Village right there, right? Or searching for the colony or searching for any of those things. Again, I think that happens more on the Park City side than it does on the WFR. But the way that you solve that is by simply starting your search, scroll all the way down here to the bottom, and then check, again, you're going to click on more options down here on the add remove search options, and you can go ahead and add all of these different fields. So in this case, you're going to get a really, really, really refined version of a client. So if somebody has to live in, Sugar House, somebody has to live in new construction, somebody has to live at the colony, someone has to, live at any one of these great places. That's how you do that. And so that's what we're going to cover today. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and then we'll circle back around with questions here. Nicole, if pets are allowed. So Nicole, that same option that we went through before in that that search field there, I think, isn't it a law that you have to have pets everywhere in Park City? I think it's against the law to not have a dog in Park City. Am I wrong on that? One of our Park City agents want to chime in there? Yeah, I think you're required to have a dog in Park City. But when you come in here and you come down here on the add remove search options, I'm not sure pets is in here, but let's find out. Let's type pets and see what we get. It doesn't look like it's there, but in here, this is where you would find that particular option as to whether or not. Again, it's RealScout is limited to what the options are listed inside of the MLS. But one of the things that you can do, Nicole, on that one is that both of these options tell you can search the public remarks. Right, so you might want to add that field as public remarks, and in here you can kind of search for pets, see if that shows up. So if pets are in the public remarks, you'll go ahead and get those options there. It's incredibly powerful. It's incredibly versatile. Again, I don't think I just shared my screen on that last one there, but it's the same option. You go all the way down to the bottom, you hit the new add remove search options, and away you go. Let's see what it is. Yeah, Liz is verifying. It is a law. You have to have a pet when you live in Park City. So That's it for today, guys. We wanted, again, we're kind of shortening these trainings, trying to make them a little bit more targeted and focused to the options that might be there. One of the other things that we would love is that if you've got specific topics or you've got specific needs that you want us to cover in these marketing and tech trainings, send an email to myself and Jamie and just let us know what you want to have covered. We'll go ahead and do that for you anytime. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording.